this should be a very easy election to win. Her opponent is an imbecile. She doesn't need to pull off these sophisticated triangulations. She just needs to run a simple message about the fucking economy. Stupid. The average American is not going to read this and think that America needs to unite against the Russians as a common enemy, and we need to, this, like, this is just not in the minds of people, okay? In order to get something like that, you need a really, really strong media presence, and you've got to push them on it day in and day out, day in and day out. People don't just naturally default to Hobbesianism. They don't just automatically say, gee, let's fight the Russians. They need to be worked up against it. She needs to have Fox News on her side. And is Fox News on her side? Of course not. It's the exact opposite, okay? She's trying to use a conservative playbook to convince liberals to vote for her, while the conservative media institutions are running people up against her. It's lost the plot, right? It's like you get the idea, but you don't know how to implement it, right? Rather, the average American is going to read that and think that she's so incompetent on national security that she can't even keep the Russians out of her campaign communications. And the media establishment that she needs to push the opposite is going to be pushing what I'm saying, right? Do you think that Fox News is going to react to this by suggesting that we need to start a war against Russia? I don't think so. I think that Fox News is going to react to this by suggesting that she's incompetent, by bringing up Libya and building a narrative about that, right? And she might get the narrative she wants out of CNN or MSNBC, but she's not going to get the audience that she needs. So this will backfire dramatically, okay? It's the only narrative that Trump could possibly win on, and they're handing it to him. Okay. Let's think carefully about this. Did the Russians steal the information? It's actually not at all unlikely. Okay, I know Trump said something else, but nobody cares what Trump says. The Russians are in and out of American servers all day long, so are the Chinese, and the Americans are in and out of Russian and Chinese servers all the time too, okay? At any given moment, any of the major governments can hack into just about anything. That's the reality of it. Okay, the FBI knows that. Tech people know that. Espionage people know that. Really, anybody who is at all mildly educated on any relevant topic knows that. Okay, but most voters don't know that. So, which is the problem, right? If voters had the education level, this is maybe the problem with neoconservatism, right? They break down the education system to make them more pliable, but then their propaganda doesn't work because they're too uneducated. So blowing up the story like this has to be political in some way or another. It's really not actually a story, okay? The question is what the political purpose is. I was talking a while back about the deep state trying to take her down on fears of her being compromised herself. I can't rule that out, but it seems to me like if that has anything to do with this, it's more like they're letting it happen, right? They're looking at the situation and they're just kind of chuckling and saying, "Okay, let's let her hang herself," right? More likely to me is that this is Clinton playing out her neocon fantasies and building up an enemy to unite against. But again, that's just not what people are going to think. They're just going to see the Russians walking all over her. Weak leadership, weak on national security. She's weak. She's weak. She can't stand up to Putin. Putin's all over her emails. couple of days later, I stumbled across it was actually RCP pushing Stephen Cohen's analysis of things, which is interesting to me. Um, I've heard a lot from Stephen Cohen, mostly on alt-left media sites like Democracy Now. He's a smart guy. He's got good analysis. He's very informed. You might argue that he's the maybe outside of Condoleezza Rice, he's the leading expert on Russian issues in the United States. And Condi's got a leg up because she's she was there kind of thing, right? He's agreeing with pretty much everything I'm saying from his own perspective. He's suggesting that what Clinton is pushing here is dangerous, that it's a return to the McCarthy era, that it needs to be strenuously rejected and fought against, that she's pushing for a new Cold War, and that that this is a scary step backwards. He's essentially agreeing with my perspective on, like this isn't real. Like everybody knows that it can't be real, right? It has to be politics. The Russians know it's politics, but they should be concerned, right? And he's also tying it into Syria. I think that's he's going a little bit further than I am. I'm not gonna take him down. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna take him down because I agree with him, right? But like, I'm not gonna really comment on that. I'm just gonna leave you with that link. It's worth listening to.